So welcome everyone. This is Vidit. I am from Skilled Inspirational Academy. So I'll be your trainer for this whole course. So this course which I talk about consists of advanced WAF. When I talk about advanced WAF, it is called Web Application Firewall. And this is the most emerging cybersecurity technology which comes under your application security. So in this course, I'll be covering your advanced WAF plus DDoS plus API security plus board defense. So advanced WAF is a term which is given by Big IP or when I say F5. But the course, if you talk about it's called ASM or you can say WAF. So when I talk about WAF, it's called Web Application Firewall. And when I talk about ASM, some people say it's ASM, some people say it's Application Security Manager. So this don't get confused that it is an advanced course or it will start from advanced. I'll be starting this course from basics till advanced level so that you can become expert in all this technology. So when I talk about WAF is a separate technology. DDoS is a part of it. Then we talk about API security and then we talk about port defense. So this is how it is compromise and consist of. So don't get confused, like all this will be covered in one course. So first we'll go with course content and what are the prerequisites for it. So guys, whoever is in security field or network field can do that. It is good if you are from security field, like basics of security, like firewall. It can be your Palo Alto firewalls. It can be your any firewall, but it is not like that you need good understanding of firewall. So who have a basic understanding of OSI plus HTTP protocol can attend this training. Plus, people have questioned that do you have need to have basic knowledge on F5 load balancers? No. So when I will start this course, when I talk about this course, I'll be starting from this course only. Like I'll cover 3 to 4 classes, basics of load balancer that is needed for WAF. When I talk about WAF or load balancer, okay, operating system is same. That is called TMOS operating system. So I'll talk about that architecture. When I talk about F5, F5 has a product called Big IP. In Big IP, one technology is called load balancer technology. That is called application ADC controllers. That is called local traffic manager. And another technology security is called WAF. But I'll cover the basics what is required for you to become expert in WAF. So load balancer basic knowledge would be needed, like operating system knowledge, traffic flow, what is virtual server, what is pool member, what is pool. All this will be covered basics 2 to 3 classes. So there is no request that you need to have good knowledge on load balancer first. That is the main thing which I wanted to tell you. Now, when I talk about further cases, this course is basically where we will be covering deployment part, fine tuning part, and operations part. So you will get expert where you can design your solution, like where WAF should be placed, plus you can implement the solution, plus you can deploy it with configuration part. And last thing which we'll be doing is operation part also. So my main agenda whenever someone joins my training or Himusa training is we do live scenario based trainings where we'll make you expert so that you can clear any interview, any production interview. That is guarantee. So for any WAF or F5 or any Palo Alto trainings, we give this 100% guarantee also that you can clear any production interview and you can work in live production environment. People have questions like, can we show the experience? Right. So lab, you just need a license part. You don't need that, anything else. So you can do all labs free of cost. So F5 provides you 30 days free license. So you can do all labs free of cost. Nothing extra you need to pay. So prior WAF knowledge is not required and experience with LTM is not required because I'll be covering basics of load balancers. And this course will also make you expert in becoming F5 ASM certified. When I talk about WAF certified, this is the course code which we will be doing it. That is an ASM certification. So when I talk about ASM, it is called WAF only. So don't get confused. Now, let's go further into the course content. So it comprises of around 22 modules, which we'll be covering. First module, which we'll be covering is setting up of your big IP system. So when I talk about big IP system, it is a product. Inside it, we will be deploying a WAF module that I'll show you today in the lab also. So here we'll set up initial from scratch. So whenever you go for any interviews in market, they will ask you, they will test your knowledge that do you have production knowledge? So that is critical. So we'll configure WAF from scratch. Then we will cover your traffic processing policies, where we'll talk about big IP traffic processing object. Whenever we talk about WAF, what is WAF? So WAF is your web app. Let me draw a picture for you. Just a basic understanding, then we'll talk about. So let's say I have a web box or a web application firewall. Here I have a user. Then here we have an attacker. And let's say there is one bad bot also. And then you have an application. Let's say there your original application is. Let's say I have an application called sianets.com that is hosted on this application. Now someone tries, let's say this is a legitimate traffic. And this is an attacker or it's a bad bot. All wants to connect to sianets.com. This when I talk about application, this is called web server or it can be called application server. So when I talk about WAF, WAF is positioned in such a way that it is placed between your end user and between your web server. Your original application will be hosted here. Then there will be a database layer. So what does it does? WAF will protect you from layer 7 attacks. Or a good term which you need to tell in a company is OWASP top 10 attacks. And this is the must learn technology for every IT engineer, guys. Today we will be seeing multiple things. So don't miss this because this demos is not a demo, but it's like a live training which I do it. So generally an attacker wants to exploit this. What does exploit means? Or vulnerability mean? Let's say there is a vulnerability in this web server or my application which is called sianets.com. What does it does? Let's say if an attacker got an access to this application, what does it does? It will steal your data and it will disrupt your services. Correct? Someone will attacker wants to attack this application. If it feels that there is a vulnerability in this application, then it will block it. There is no blockage. Previously, when firewall was there, people were easily used to exploit the data. Means it will steal your data, and data is what? That is the main thing for your company. Now, a company has produced any company. It's not about F5, but they have produced a product called WAF. which is called Web Application Firewall, and it is called reverse proxy. When I talk about Zscaler, it is called forward proxy. But when I talk about WAF, it is called reverse proxy. And it is always placed in front of your web server. So when WAF is placed, what it will do? It will inspect the traffic. It will find whether it's a legitimate traffic or it is a bad traffic. If it is a malicious traffic, so it will block it at this layer only. So in this way, it will have a violation. Let's say SQL injection attack, cross-site scripting attack. So web application firewall will inspect your traffic, all end-to-end traffic, whether it's an HTTP. Mostly your application traffic is based on HTTP layer. So it will inspect and monitor your ingress and egress. So it will inspect your ingress traffic and egress also and response traffic also. So it will detect whether something is malicious or something is anomaly. If there is an harmful traffic which is detected, it will block it and it will term as a violation. So web application firewall have multiple things. It has signature based. It will detect your application payload. So what does WAF does? So WAF is a protocol or it's a device which works on layer 7 and it protects from all layer 7 attacks. When I talk about it, it detects your application payload. So someone can tell me about application payload. Payload is nothing but a data. So they can change something. It will identify your bad traffic and it will block it. Third thing which WAF does is anomaly detection. And WAF can detect your attack, layer 7 attack, and after that it will protect also. So when I talk about OWASP top 10, this is the first question which will be asked in interview. What is OWASP top 10? Can firewall can block through OWASP top 10 or we need a WAF that you need to understand. So you can think of WAF as a, let's talk about evolution. It's a very critical term. Many people miss it. How WAF is evolution. Previously, there was a device called NIDS. What does it does? It is an IDS, intrusion detection system that you use in firewall. Correct? That was the first technology which came into picture. Network firewall, basic app firewall extension. Then there was a device called dedicated application firewall. After that, there is a term called WAF comes into picture. That is called dedicated WAF. After that, I'm talking about this evolution. Now there is an adaptive WAF which came into picture. I'll talk about this. And now AI is coming into picture, artificial intelligence, machine learning is coming into picture. Now we need a WAF which can also detect artificial intelligence and machine learning. Means I need a device which can does threat intelligence, which can do security automation. Because attacks are challenging now. Manual way of based on signatures are okay, but we need offline detection, threat intelligence. Previously, when I talk about WAF, network firewall, it was working 1990. There is a product called NIDS. Whether it was detecting your layer 7? No. It was never able to detect your network layer and it has having limited layer 7 capabilities. But internet has grown. E-commerce application has become a future. Now there was a term called app firewalls. So one question which comes into mind is WAF versus firewall. What is the difference? When I talk about firewall, is it Palo Alto, checkpoint? It can detect layer 7 attacks, but it does not prevent OWASP top 10 fully. Even firewall can only detect incoming traffic. But let's say if I access any website called flipkart.com, it has a database. Now something has changed on database on your web server. In response, someone has inserted some header, some changes in header. Can firewall detect it? No. Firewall has a limited capability. So this question comes into picture in every interview. What is the difference between Palo Alto versus WAF? Layer 7 WAF. Very critical topic before going further. What is the difference between a layer 7 firewall versus layer 7 WAF? That's a question which comes into market. I'm talking a lot. Let's talk about Palo Alto firewall, which is called next generation firewall. And let's talk about layer 7 WAF. They both are powerful and they are most in demand in cyber security field. Nowadays, people, you have to jump from network security. Network security is no more going forward. You have to be good in layer 7 firewalls, layer 7 WAF. So when I talk about Palo Alto firewall, it can detect layer 7 to, sorry, layer 3 to layer 7. But what does it do? It features limited capability like app ID, user ID, URL filtering. It has limited capability. It is ideal for east-west traffic and north-south traffic. Basically, it is used to protect enterprise networks. When I talk about Palo Alto firewall placement, where it is used in east-west traffic, north-south traffic, basically across enterprise network. When I talk about firewall, firewall be always be placed in perimeter layer. Mostly very less people use it in before web application or web server. And firewall can only block known threats. It can only apply policy granular policies. But when I talk about WAF, WAF is specialized in layer 7 HTTP and HTTPS traffic. Can firewall protect from SQL injection attack? Can it detect that something is changed on SQL server or database? Can it protect from cross-site scripting? No. So when I talk about WAF, it provides cross-site scripting attack. I'll talk about that two attacks, SQL injection or parameter tampering. When someone changes some parameter, let's say you want to buy our iPhone, but an hacker is very smart. Its price is, let's say, 80,000 Indian rupees, but an hacker changed to 1 rupees. Can firewall detect it whether there is any change on the parameter level? Can firewall detect whether it's a parameter level tampering attack? Can firewall protect from API security? It can, but there can be a difference. Now, when I talk about HTTP headers, firewall can detect only request headers. When I talk about HTTP, it works on request and response headers. Firewall can only detect request header, but not response headers. Even it has a learning engine. When I talk about WAF, it provides you learning engine. It can detect file types, URL, and parameters. These are the main terms which it does. So how you can complement each other? When I talk about layer 7 firewalls, your next generation firewall will protect your network infra. Please understand this term, guys. This will be the first question when you attend any cybersecurity interview. And when I talk about WAF, it works on application layer. But when how I can integrate both solution, that is main thing. People will ask you question. Hey Vidit, my question will be how you can integrate in a design, that is main thing. You are working as a solution architect or you can work as an implementation engineer. Question they will ask you is how can I integrate both solutions? When Hemu sir provides you Palo Alto training, he provides you where you can place one solution which is called Palo Alto. But how I can integrate both solutions together? So always better would be Palo Alto firewall you should deploy, or a 40 gate firewall you should deploy at perimeter layer. So how it is deployed? Let's say I have an internet, then I have a router, then I have a firewall, then I have a load balancers with WAF capability. Another thing which firewall does not provide, it does not provide load balancing feature, but WAF provides you load balancing also, and WAF provides security also. It provides you load balancing feature also, 24 into 7 availability of application. It provides you WAF security feature also. And then you have your application, web server, where your original application is hosted. When I talk about north south traffic, can anyone tell me what this north south traffic means? When I talk about firewalls, Palo Alto firewall 40 gate, there is a term called north south traffic and east west traffic. North south traffic is nothing but inbound and outbound. Always use firewall to inspect inbound and outbound traffic. It can be your app ID, threat prevention, URL filtering, and user ID, so that it can isolate or protect your network. When I talk about WAF, WAF should be placed, so WAF, firewall we have placed in perimeter layer, but WAF should be always placed in front of your web application. So WAF placement should be in front of your web application. So you have to configure your security policy to protect OWASP top 10, SQL injection, cross-site scripting. You can use bot prevention also. Like there are automatic bots are coming into picture, bad bots, which can block your application, which can hack your application. So that is how it does it. And how you can integrate both solution with SIM. Nowadays, SIM solution is in demand. Most critical SIM solution which is in demand now is Cortex, which is in huge demand. Cortex X SIAM, or you can say Splunk, so that it can detect multi-factor attacks. And when I talk about what vulnerability does each solution address, people can ask, Palo Alto firewall can block which traffic? Next question which comes into picture. First, can you tell me what is vulnerability? When I talk about vulnerability, this is a critical term in your cyber security. Vulnerability is nothing but a weakness in your application. Let's say I have a sianets.com application. Someone can hack this application if there is a weakness. So they will find vulnerability first. So vulnerability is a weakness. Let's say you are a person, you have some weakness and you have some strong feature. So your manager will look over your weakness. When you have an appraisal period, you have done a good work, but still there will be a weakness which will be pointed by your manager that, hey, Ayush, you had done a good work, but there was some weakness on your communication skills. You were not proactive. So that is called weakness. Now, when I talk about Palo Alto firewall or a next generation firewall, what types of vulnerabilities it can attack? It can detect. So let's break down that. When I talk about firewalls, so you must know one of the firewall in market nowadays, which is in huge demand, is Palo Alto. So it can detect your malwares and exploits. So when I talk about cybersecurity field, these are the important terms which you should know: virus, malware, exploit, then vulnerabilities, threats, this you should know. Whenever you give any interview in cybersecurity or nowadays, what does firewall does? It can protect your malware exploits. Malware means known malwares. My question for you all, after this, I will have one interview round for you all where I'll give you some goodies also. So, can firewall detect zero-day exploits? Can anyone tell me? Can firewall can detect zero-day exploits? You can think about that. Can it attack? Can it prevent from command injection? What does command injection attack means? Can firewall detect from phishing and URL threats? Phishing attack. Can firewall can detect from phishing? What does phishing means? Phishing means I have website called sianets.com, but that is not an original application. They will look like a same application, but it will be a phishing page. People are using phishing to block malicious sites to make it same like a original website, but it will detect your data, but it will be not your original website. So can firewall detect your phishing attacks? So this you need to think about Palo Alto firewall. But when I talk about layer 7, this was about firewall. When I talk about layer 7 WAF, which we will be covering, it is specialized in your OWASP top 10, let's say SQL injection attack. I'll show this live topology now. How does SQL injection looks like? Let's go further into that so that you can understand difference between firewall versus next generation firewall. So let's come across that. So when I talk about SQL injection, I'll draw a topology for you. So you have a picture where you have an attacker. Then you have a web server. Then you have a database server. Always remember, web server is your front end. And database, let's say you have ICICIbank.com. When you access this website, this is hosted on web server. But when you fill these credentials, your username and your password, where it is stored, anyone can tell me it is stored at database layer. Always remember this. Or your credentials are always stored in your database layer. And you have to prevent that. Now, can I give you one example, live example? Let's go it. Trust me, these features are very important nowadays. Cybersecurity in huge demand. So this course is mandatory for everyone. Now let's see this. I'll take one car example. Now, someone, a good user like us, was a hacker. So number plate in foreign country. He has a car where he used this number plate. He used this. Okay. He was very smart. He used this to bypass what? To bypass speed. So there is a speed camera nowadays in every countries. Even in India, you have it. But this person was very smart. He used some feature called number plate where he inserted some database feature. What does it says? Can anyone tell me? What does this says? So this says that this is a code injector. So someone uses this code injector to bypass or fool your speed. So camera, whenever camera was coming, It was dropping this database table. It was deleting all your attacks. That was a surprising feature. So your application, your cameras were not configured properly and it was fooling it. That is what it does. It's saying that an SQL injection full speed traps and clears all the database record. It's saying drop database table. That's what it's saying, right? What does it say? It is fooling your speed trapping and it is clearing your database feature. That is called SQL injection. So typically when a speed camera nowadays, how speed camera works? So speed camera, just 1 minute. When I talk about speed camera will have your OCR software. OCR software was used in your camera that was used to recognize your license plate. So a clever hacker like us decided to see if he can defect, if he can bypass this camera. When he was bypassing, this car was passing through every camera. So he was just inserting one SQL statement. You have a database. This is called database statement. SQL database. So when we were in engineering colleges, we read about this database. So always when you drive a car, your traffic camera is only taught to recognize the license plate. So your camera was made in such a way that it was only recognizing the license plate. So when license plate was worked, okay, what was happening was there was a third party software. You know, like police softwares are not good, right? They will just digitalize it just for causing it. So what was happening is it was deleting all the record from the database of the customer where it was detecting, it was deleting all the database. That was the story about this speed camera. So what was it? I'll show you about database. You should not know this, but how people hackers are doing it. If you don't have good cybersecurity tool to detect. So it was saying drop database table. What does it means? So drop data table means it will delete all your data tables. See, I'll submit this answer. So drop data table is generally means if there is a database, all your records will get deleted. That's what it's saying. SQL drop table will drop everything from the database. So that was a vulnerability. That was a live example which I was talking about. But let's not an issue. We'll talk about SQL injection in detail. Just showing you how it looks like. Live example of a car. This picture is spread in your, when I say this picture is spread, it is spread in internet. You can check this example of a car. You will understand. But let's talk about SQL injection attack. So I have a web server and I have a database server and then I have an attacker. So this database server will hold your all your data, whether your username, password, it will store all the thing. Now hacker, what does it does? And hacker comes into picture, it performs this HTTPS in your website called example.com. He insert this account ID. Then he insert one SQL injection attack. 1 equal to 1. So this command was injected on this web server. And this web server and database server was vulnerable. Mud means it was not able to detect whether this is an attack or not. So application server executed it. Once it executed this injection, it accepted this statement. So attacker got unauthorized access of all the data. This statement is always true, 1 equal to 1, right? This is type of one SQL injection where attacker modify a parameter value. This is a parameter. When we'll talk about HTTP, there is a parameter called ID. Parameter is nothing but name equal to value. Your username is parameter. Your password is a parameter. So here a hacker modify a parameter in a browser and created an SQL injection statement. He inserted this statement in your web server because web server was not properly patched. So it has got all your data. So it causes denial of service attack, sensitive data. It got all your username and password from this. So it has inserted this on web server. Then there was a statement select star from where there was a statement where this ID matches. If this ID like 2 equal to 2, it's true, then it will return sensitive data. Once this sensitive data is done, your hacker will got all the stolen data. Can firewall detect this type of attack where someone has inserted something in your command line or in your browser, some vulnerable? It has created some SQL statement. Can firewall detect? No. So let's perform attack live. I have a web application. I'll show this attack live. Just let me see if it. I'll go. This is my load balancer. I'll go here. I'll log in into my F5. I have one vulnerability application. That also I'll show. So this is my vulnerability application, PHP application. Okay, I'll just check the IP address. 10.10.2.80. Okay, I'll configure this as a pool. I'll configure one. Before that, I have to deploy WAF. So when I deploy WAF, there should be a license. License by default, I have a trial license which is active till 14th. I have ASM feature. Now I'll go here quickly into resource provisioning. Right now, this was used as a load balancer. In same module, I can configure WAF also. I'll delete this and I'll configure ASM. So your same device can work as a WAF. Nowadays, WAF provides basic load balancing feature. So you don't need to worry. You can only provision WAF that will work. Previously, this device I was using load balancer. Now I want to use this device as a WAF. So I can use that. So I'll just show you live example how to perform SQL injection attack and how WAF can prevent it. See, you need to know both the things. When you go to cybersecurity field, your intention should be you should know offensive approach first. And you need to be good in defensive. Offensive means first you need to know how attack is happening. Then you need to know how to protect it. So in this whole training on WAF, when I talk about application security, we'll learn this offensive plus defensive. So it is just more provisioning it. Meanwhile, I'll show you one thing more. So what we learned about web application traffic is it protects from layer 7 attacks. So you can deploy WAF mostly in front of your web application between your internet and your web application server. That is what web works as it is. So these are the three types of WAF in market nowadays. First is called network based, host based, and cloud based. But now our WAF, which we learn on F5, we learn at layer 7 WAF. Plus, it is also called cloud based WAF. When I talk about WAF as cloud based, F5 has introduced a very good WAF, which is called WAF, which is called distributed cloud WAF, which consists of your WAF plus API security. Guys, trust me, if you're good with firewalls and if you know this, you will be really good in market. Plus, if you have one Zscaler knowledge, SaaS based or Prisma, your job will be secure for next 5 years. That I can guarantee. Because this combination very less people have. I have seen people don't have knowledge on web. Even if they have, they don't know the basic. I'll ask this question initially. What does OWASP top 10 means? No one can answer that. So when I talk about network-based WAF, it is deployed at network layer, which can inspect your traffic before reaching a application server. Host-based WAF means it is installed directly on your web server. And cloud-based, it is scalability it provides. So this is the technology which it provides. So when I talk about WAF, it works as positive model plus negative model. We'll understand this on detail. But first, let me perform an attack. And how this one we will cover in detail. You should know how HTTP works. I was talking about this. When I talk about WAF, it can detect everything in depth. What is the method which is using? What is the URL? What is the file type? Can firewall detect everything? Can firewall go inside the packet of HTTP? Let's say I want to block delete method. When I talk about HTTP methods, there are a lot of methods. Now, someone is an hacker. It wants to delete like some URL from your web page. So it uses delete method. So can firewall detect whether it block? I want to block delete method. When someone tries to use delete method, it should get disabled to prevent from malicious action. Like when I use delete, I'll say delete this page from my web server. This is not recommended. Can firewall can do it? That is called headers. Your WAF can detect at header level. This is called request header. I want to check HTTP protocol compliance, whether I my this page, this host header is legal or not. Someone can use IP address also in this host header. But I want if someone is coming with IP address, it should get blocked. Can firewall detect this? So some headers hacker can modify, but WAV can detect if there is some policy. I want to use that my HTTP protocol should be 1.0, 1.1, 1.2. It should not be less than 1.0. Otherwise, it will come under your HTTP protocol compliance. Can firewall detect this? Whether your HTTP protocol is legal or not. That is why it is in huge demand. It works under your, it's not just a WAF, but it is more than a WAF where it can provide you load balancing. It can brute force attack. And now, what does brute force? That also I'll perform. I'll perform 2 to 3 attacks. So this is how it looks like. When I talk about parameter, this is my parameter called search parameter. This is one parameter. Someone does some changes over here. does it get blocked? So here it is. So when I talk about parameters is a part of your query string. So we will learn, you should know when you, if you want to good in WAF, you should learn HTTP protocol. And even automation comes, your TCP HTTP protocol will never get removed. So query string is nothing. You have a URI. You should know what is URL, what is URI, and what is parameter. Can someone tell me in this whole web page, what is the file type? Does anyone know what is file type? File type is PHP. And what is the parameter? This is the parameter. What is coming after this question mark? See, we only access web page, but have you ever seen this parameter? What is coming under it? So this is a parameter. And these are your headers. Cookie tampering. People perform cookie tampering attack. That can also be protected from WAF. That is how useful is WAF. So it's, I'll talk about uh, like it can either be integrated with your cloud servers, or it can be either integrated with your, when I say it can be integrated with your on premises servers also. So this is how it looks like. And response code, it detect everything, like what is the method which is coming, what is the response code. It WAF can detect inside your headers what is coming inside your body. Someone can insert some bad payload, that can also detect. Let me see if it works, like just 1 minute. Let me see if I can perform attack now. Just let me refresh. It takes time because I've inserted this. Okay, it's coming just because WAF is just starting. No, I was just discussing about other features. So we were talking about WAF technology. So it provides first feature called signature based detection. When I talk about signature based detection, it is called known signatures also and unknown signatures also. Now, can someone tell me what does attack signature means? You all know theory part, but what is attack signatures looks like? This is very critical topic, attack signature. We will see how to create custom signatures also. But what does attack signature means? So attack signature is nothing but a rule or a pattern which can identify your attack technique. So when whether it's a WAF or a Palo Alto firewall, an attack signature is a predefined rule or pattern which is used to detect and block malicious traffic. Someone tries to insert some pattern which F5 WAF can detect and block. That is called attack signature. So it applies on both your HTTP request header and HTTP response header. See, everyone goes through course content because today I wanted to go a little bit of cybersecurity part. Course content I'll share you in last, but this was critical to understand because people have confusion. Like, should I good be in cybersecurity? Yes. So that's why I wanted to go through basic level. So what does HTTP request and response headers means? So HTTP request header, let's say I have a client, I have an F5, I have a server. This is called HTTP request. When client access my web page, that is called HTTP request. And when server is responding back with the content, That is called HTTP response. Now, how does attack signature works? So when a client send a request, this is called request header. So it will compare, there will be a attack signature database. By default firewalls, your WAF has attack signature database. It will compare if it's an hacker, if he's trying to insert some pattern like SQL injection or 1 equal to 1 like this. This is not genuine. Cross-site scripting. Someone wants inserted this header script, then alert, cross-site scripting attack. So it will compare this pattern with your database. If it matches, then it will block that traffic. So your signatures, your hacker can insert signature on your URI part, your header part, and your body part. That is very, very important. I talked about iSkill injection, right? Someone tried to insert that number plate. If there was a WAF which is placed or some security device, it will block that traffic. So that is how it compares your content, what content is coming. If it is matching with this, it will block the traffic automatically. So attack signatures are nothing but a digital print for your non-thread. They help me to identify and recognize malicious activity in real time. Now, I'll give you one live use case. Let's say someone wants to use phishing email. He has sent phishing email with malware. Let's say this phishing email came from our CEO. Your hacker took an access of your CEO email ID and it has sent one phishing email. So you are an employee. Let's say you are an employee who receives this an email that looks like from their CEO or IT department. So it says that please open this attached security update file. So there was an update which needs to happen in your laptop. Now this attachment will contain your malicious malware that is called microfile. So if someone opens this file, it will install this rat. Rat is called Trojan virus. If someone if I open this attachment, I'll run a macro in his laptop and I will install a Trojan. So this macro will have pattern, our unique attack signature stored in company antivirus and IDS. So when email attachment is scanned, let's say first email attachment comes, some device needs to scan it. So let's say we have an endpoint detection coming into picture. We have a device which scan this pattern. Now the system compare this file with signature database. Let's say you have IDS IPS. It will compare with your signature database. So how detection will happen? I'll tell you that. That is very critical, guys. Please understand this use case. So this detection will come, which will have email attachment. Now email attachment will have a scan by some endpoint detection device, endpoint protection device. After that, you have an endpoint protection. This endpoint system will compare this file with whatever signature database it has. Now, if it matches with signature database, it will block and user will get alerted and it will block it. That is how it does. If it does not have a signature database, then that file will pass through your user and user will have a virus installed in his laptop. So if you want to detect this, you have to stop it before it can execute. You have to have your database updated with real time. So attack signature just matches your pattern. If it's a legal pattern, it can allow. If it's a non-legal pattern, it will block it before it execute. So signature based provides you speed, accuracy of an attack. Main it is detecting known threats. That is how it works. Nowadays, people are using AI. Now, what does difference between people are saying, Vidit sir, do you need to learn AI? No. I'm saying yes. I say no, I say yes. AI is nothing, guys. It's like a Google only. It helps you to provide more knowledge of the artificial intelligence, but it is like your resistance. You keep learning it. Now, previously we have signature-based detection. Like your firewall was using signature-based. Now you should use AI behavior-based detection. The WAF which I am talking about, Cloud WAF or F5 WAF, provides you this feature. Previously, signature-based was learning attacks from patterns. It requires known attack patterns. But people are very smart. They use AI-based attacks. They will say, hey AI, please create an attack that can bypass my server. So now when I talk about AI-based attack, it learns patterns from behavior. It is effective for unknown zero-day attack. It is effective only for known attack, known threats. But I want zero-day attacks to be prevented. So you have to use AI behavior-based attacks that can prevent from zero-day threats. It is self-learning. It can keep learning, but it needs manual update. Now let's say an attacker sends a new variant of phishing email with the payload, but that is known a new threat. Now WAF will check a request, no signature matched. Now AI will come into picture. Let's talk about use case where I'll use signature plus AI. Now use case is an attacker sent a new variant of phishing email with payload that is not detected by WAF. WAF first check signature is not matching. No signature match, it says. After that, AI comes into picture. It will notice unusual behavior. Behavior engine means, can someone tell me behavior? What does behavior analysis means? This is a normal term which everyone should know. Behavior analysis. Behavior analysis means, I'll tell live example. Let's say you are an employee who are working in an IT company called TCS and you log in from Mumbai during work hours. Please exam. I am talking about behavior analysis. Live example. Now you I is an employee, let's say Ankush, is an employee who works in IT in TCS company. He logs in from Mumbai during work hours, sorry. One day his account logs in around 3 a.m. from US at 3 a.m. That is not a work hours. and it start downloading sensitive files. So signature based tool will miss this, but behavior analysis will say that that is not a normal behavior. Are you getting? It's an unusual behavior. So it will like what it detect when I talk about behavior or AI based attack, it can detect your insider threat. Insider threats mean it will suspicious access a pattern from legitimate user. So there is a user whose machine got hacked and he was logging at 3 a.m. It will also detect credential thefts. What does credential theft means? Login from unusual locations or devices. Malware free attacks, where it can detect normal behavior but with malicious intent. And last one is zero-day exploits. Zero-day means new threats that doesn't match your non-signatures. So that is called behavior analysis. Nowadays, you should have a WAF with AI feature. You should just understand the logic how it works. Pattern is same. Now, I will log in. I have an access. Let me check. Now my box is up. Okay. That is how WAF works. Let's access it. Just few minutes. I'll perform one attack. Meanwhile, let me check if I can access that server. 10 dot vulnerability application. This is my vulnerability application. Can I perform one SQL injection attack? See, can I do one thing? I just type one SQL injection script. This is one SQL injection pattern. In username, I'm not entering with it. I'm not entering Ankush or valid username. Abdul, Akhilesh, I'm not entering that. I'm just entering username and just go. Now I've logged in. Is it user behavior or not? Please reply on the chat. Now if I go to this control panel, I got all username with password. This is called SQL injection attack. Without login, I got access to all my username and passwords. I did not enter username. I just enter one SQL injection pattern. And I got access to all my database. I can delete also this. This is called vulnerability. This web server is not patched. No sensitive data detection is there. No proper user sanitization. You have seen a lot of time what is user sanitization. User sanitization in server means input. That is very critical nowadays. This is a cyber security feature which is called input sanitization. When I talk about input sanitization, it prevents attackers from injecting malicious data into system. Think of it as a digital bouncer that checks every piece of user input before letting into your app. User input means when you are filling form, when you are doing API request, when you are uploading some file. It should check everything so that hacker cannot inject malicious data. In this case, I entered this pattern. It should not allow me, right? That pattern is illegal. In icicibank.com, I'll show you that. Let me log in into ICICI. axisbank.com. I'll enter the same thing. I'll log in. Now I'll enter the same thing which I entered in this vulnerability application which I was showing you. This one. This pattern I'll enter in that HDFC web page where it is login, personal. This is my one application. Let's see whether this has users input sanitization or not. I'll just enter. I'll enter. Let me open there only. I'll log in same way where I have applied with this pattern. Let's see whether it allows or not. See, it is not even copying. It's not allowing me. I'm entering this. It's saying, please enter your customer ID or one. It is not even copying paste. So means it has a proper input sanitization. There is a filter. It will only allow save characters or format. It will not allow like this. Or then it is not allowing me to one equal. It is not allowing. That is called proper sanitization. If your application does not have it, then hacker can make use of it and it will insert malicious data. That is how it has. So now this I can detect. I have inserted this. I got access. I logged in. I got access to my all username and passwords. Now, if I do this security, I have one pool. Let me configure quickly. I'll create one pool and then I'll perform an attack and let's see whether WAF will detect. So I'll say web vulnerability pool. Then I'll just enter this. Don't worry, I'm just performing one lab. I'll do everything in live class starting from next week. This is just an example which I'm showing. How WAF can detect it. I am performing attack. I'm accessing that. But so now this, I'll create one virtual server. So this class again, I'm saying it's not a demo class that I just done for half an hour. It is a critical session for me. Vulnerability application, I'll say. If you miss even a single minute, then you will not understand. Please stay. One dot, let's say one example I'm giving, one application. Front end. When I talk about F5, it works on front end versus back end. I'll just assign HTTP profile and I'll just map it to my vulnerability pool. Previously, I was accessing my application directly. Now I will access through load balancer because traffic should pass through load balancer. Because when I talk about layer 7 policy, user traffic client will always connect to F5 using virtual IP. This is the front end IP where user will connect. Now, when I talk about this, in this virtual server, I'll call a pool, which is a backend server, and I will call a layer 7 policy. It's giving some IP address, no problems. I'll give 1.40. So that layer 7 policy will be always applied here. So I create this, I'll access this application now. So the traffic passes through load balancer, I'll show you. Can you see? Now access is through traffic is coming into WAF. Now what I'll do, I'll create one layer 7 policy. I'll go to security policy, WAF policy. It's like a firewall policy applied to your virtual server because all traffic is hitting on your virtual server. I'll create one normal layer 7 policy that is called layer. This WAF policy is called layer 7, where you go to security tab. This here we'll discuss about everything on WAF. So there are a lot of policies created, but I'll create new. I'll go to create option. I will say rapid vulnerability policy. Now here I'll use normal template, rapid. I'll talk about this in live sessions. Here, that's it, transparent. When I talk about WAF, there are two modes, transparent mode versus blocking mode. Then we'll talk about rest. I'll talk about what is my server technology. Like what is my web server? It is Apache. So that attack signatures apply based on that. What is an SQL? I'll say database is MySQL. And it is a Linux operating system. That's it. So I've created one policy, layer 7. I'm saying rapid deployment is a template and just a server technology. I'll save it. So it will take some time, 1 to 2 minutes. So here, that is called layer 7 policy. So once a policy is created, I'll talk about that. So meanwhile, we'll talk about features. Meanwhile, it's creating signature based we have sign. Now here I was talking about anomaly detection, AI plus ML, where it can detect all your traffic patterns and behaviors to identify deviations from normal activity. Let's say you log in from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. But you have sent the location, you tried from different locations, so it can detect that. So it can use machine learning and behavior profiling. Now, when I talk about positive model versus negative security, when I talk about firewall does what thing? It will block everything and allow based on your security policy. But when I talk about WAF, it starts with negative model and then slowly becomes positive. So if someone asks you whether WAF is negative security model or positive, this is an interview question which will be asked every interview. Whether WAF is a negative security model or a positive security model. So your answer should be, it is a combination of both models. So negative security model means it will allow all traffic until there is a some known attack signature match. It will allow everything unless it matches a known malicious pattern. So here attack signature example is a negative security model where WAF uses attack signatures to block known threats like SQL injection or cross-site scripting. But when I talk about positive security model, it only block everything, only allow non-trusted traffic. Like you create a policies. Here it offers strong protection against unknown threats. So it is like a whitelisting where you define rules for behavior analysis for acceptable inputs. It is ideal for strict information where you require strict security policy. It helps prevent zero-day attacks also here. So when I talk about hybrid approach, F5 uses both negative versus positive. So positive security for critical endpoints and API. Negative model is for generic traffic and non-attack vectors. That is critical, guys. Live use case, can anyone tell me of negative versus positive? Let's test your knowledge. This will be your question. Live use case of negative security model versus positive. Now, a bank, I'll take about bank example. Bank, you will use a WAF to configure only allows valid request format and parameter. Where negative means same bank allows all traffic unless it matches a non-attack signature. That is called other features except this. API security. API security, nowadays applications are using modern APIs. Example of API security. I'll talk live example. What does API means? So API, people use for REST API. So if I talk about API example, REST API, how does REST API works? Let me draw. So it provides API security also. I'll draw a picture for you. Just 1 minute. I'll show you a picture for API now. When I talk about API, so API works with, let's say you have a browser and you have a backend server. You have a request, It goes to backend server, then you get a response traffic. So API is the protocol or routine for building software application. Nowadays, all applications are based on API. All applications are nowadays using API. That's why API security is very critical. So I'll give you an example of good API example use case so that you can understand. Let's say you have a PayPal API. Like one example is Uber company borrows a PayPal API where you can fill your credit payments and to allow its own payments from passengers. Or let's say where you want to see train data. I hope you are in India, everyone. Many people are in India. There is a software called Where is my train that works on API. Have you seen this application? Anyone on the chat? Where is my train? Where it allows you to detect real-time data that where your train is, where next train will arrive. Have you seen that, everyone? Now let's say a Zomato application. How you can detect using Zomato that where is your delivery boy? Anyone? So when someone gain access to your access, let's say Snapchat application, it uses your phone API to take the pictures, while Google Map is one application which uses your phone geolocation to know where you are located. That is called application interface. So this is an example of API where you can use another application feature that allow a creation of application that access the feature of data of an operating system or application or other service. Where Zomato is using Google Map to provide where is your delivery boy. So these are different attacks like broken authentication, authorized issues, injection attack, data breaches. Lot of API attacks are coming into picture. So you need a API security that we will talk about later. So now my security is created. That is another feature. And there were two more features which I wanted to discuss, like machine learning and bot management. That's it, guys. Now I'll show you the lab. So I've created a policy where I've created that. Just 1 minute. Mm-mm-mm. Today is 7/6. This one, rapid vulnerability policy. I'll call that on virtual server. So how to call that on virtual server? Just go to virtual server, then go to vulnerable app. I'm just calling this policy in the security tab onto my virtual server. Here I'll enable it, the new policy. And I will say SIM integration log all request. That is how you can create a WAF policy. Now traffic will come to WAF and it will give you a, if there is any violation, it will give you. Let's say that. Now I'm calling layer 7 policy is the traffic will hit. So how the traffic will be? So user traffic will hit your virtual server. Then you have a WAF policy, layer 7 policy. It will detect, it will check whether user is legitimate or not legitimate. If user is legitimate, it will send traffic further to your web server. If user is not legitimate, then it will block. Here only. It will not send traffic further to your web server. That is an example of WAF. That is how critical WAF is. User traffic will come to virtual server. First, it will check whether traffic is good or bad. If traffic is good, then only it will allow me to access my web page. If it is not good, I'll get a block page with support ID. Because WAF think like you are an attacker. Now what I did, I logged out of this application. My layer 7 policy is in process. It takes time because it was a random lab which I created. My RAM is little less in this. I have to increase it to 8 GB because this module needs around 8 GB RAM, around 7.8 GB. It works, but I have lot of devices turning on. Even you have a new laptop, this 4 GB RAM is enough. So I will now log in and I'll see whether a WAF detects violation. But when I talk about WAF, WAF has two modes, transparent mode and blocking mode. Transparent mode allows everything, but it will give me violation if there is any violation. But when I move WAF into blocking mode, basically F5 tells after 7 days, you should move application into blocking mode. After that, it will never allow me to access application if it is not legal. Now I'll tell you the traffic flow also, last topic for today, traffic flow. Then I'll take the course content and Q&A. Just 1 minute. Now this is how the traffic flow that I'll ask in Q&A for you all. You can see the traffic flow over 2 minutes and under Okay, so now I hope you understood what we talked about. So traffic flow was client traffic comes. This picture I hope everyone has reviewed. Traffic comes from this client and you have a virtual server. If you have a layer 7 policy, it will go through ASM policy. If it is not, then it will go to direct server and you can access your application. But if there is a layer 7 policy, it will check whether ASM is enabled. If ASM is enabled, it will check whether it's a valid request. If it is a valid request, then only it will allow you to access your server. If it is not a valid request, then there will be a violation. Your request will get dropped. That is how default WAF works. So now policy is called let me access the traffic. Okay. Okay, I think policy was enabled, but not an issue. Now I'll go to security and here you can learn all the now what I'll do, I'll access this page. Let's see what happens. Right now nothing is learned. Now I'll access this website. I'll go here, I'll access and I'll perform SQL injection attack. Let's see what happens. Is it getting blocked? No. Why? Because it's in transparent mode. But should it show me violation? Let's see. I need to check whether all learning and blocking setting learn flap enable because here we need to enable everything. So that are not enabled. I need to select all this so that it can learn my traffic. All parameters it should learn. So I'm just enabling all this. Okay, I'll just save. Now let's see. I'll access my traffic again. I'll just access some pages to see whether it's learning all traffic of my web page or not. Let me refresh. No problems. It is not showing. Somewhere some issues are there. Just 1 minute. I'll increase the learning score. I'll check why it's not coming when I'm accessing this. Okay, just 1 minute, guys. Sorry. I was accessing a wrong page. Got it. I was not accessing, I was accessing directly. So that was a mistake. Now I'll just access here. Here I'll access. Now it should learn. Because I was accessing directly, but traffic is passing through a web page. So I'll access this, some more items. Now it should come. Can you see? Also, one thing came in here. What it is saying, attack signature detected. And it's saying SQL injection attack. You can just open it, export, and see. We'll see what does it says. So it is giving me violation here also. SQL injection. Rating 5. Here it's saying SQL injection attack. Can you see this? Here it's saying that SQL injection attack and violation rating is 5. This is very critical. And it's saying where it is coming. You have requested this URL. Request is most likely a thread. And it will give you all the details. You post method which you are using, page you are using, and IP address C. And what is the content you are sending. And it is an attack. And why it is not getting blocked? Because it is not in blocking mode, but it's giving me violation. If I move it into blocking mode, it should block it. And you will get a support ID. So in that case, what we'll do is I'll move this policy into blocking mode. Just 1 minute. Once I move into blocking mode, what will happen? Let's see. Right now it was in transparent mode. It was just sending me a violation. So I hope this would understand the request because it is able to send the traffic to the server, but I want it to be blocked now. Just one more thing I have to do. Now I'll go to that security policy. I'll Because it's in transparent mode, this is the policy which we created. Now I'll move it into blocking mode. Let's see what happens. The requested URL is rejected. Can you see? You are able to access the application? No, you will get this support ID. Even you are a fresher today, if you have attended my session, at least you will able to clear 50% interview after this session. That was my agenda. People will ask you this question. If WAF will block a traffic, what you will get? So you need to say you will get a support ID and how you can troubleshoot. Let's see. Last topic, then we'll cover the course content. I'll tell you. It's a very good course content which I made it. It will be a 2-month journey with me. So event logs, application request. Now you just go to here, event logs. Here you just enter a support ID. It will say that why it got blocked. And it says due to SQL injection attack. So that was the whole lab, which I wanted to show you how detection works and how blocking works. Now, quickly, for last 2 minutes, course content. First module will be big IP, traffic processing. Then we will cover whole how HTTP works in detail. File type, what is URL, what is parameter. Then we will see Fiddler tool, how to change request, how to modify, work as an hacker. Then we will see web application vulnerability, OWASP top 10. Then we will see security policy deployments, how deployment is, what is positive, negative, attack signatures, then violations, learning modes, manual, automatic, attack signatures and threat campaign. This is very critical. How we can apply attack signatures, how we can apply custom signatures. Then we will see how ASM learns the traffic, file type, URL, and parameters. What is trusted IP? How cookie tampering attacks works. How reporting login you can do. Then we will do one lab project, parameter tampering. That my username should be alphanumeric, my password should be alphanumeric. Like when you go to bank online, if you don't enter alphanumeric password, it will block it. We will also see how WAF can do that. Automatic policy building. Vulnerability scanning, how you can integrate with Qualys, another vulnerability tool. Like Qualys will give you a VAPT report. How you WAF can resolve that automatically. Then we will see brute force attacks, where if you enter more than 3 times password wrong, then it should get blocked. Then credential stuffing. DDoS would be a separate topic. This is very huge demand. Layer 7 DDoS attack. It is very much indefined. Behavior analysis versus stress based. Then we will see port defense attacks. What is good board? Fingerprinting. What is bad boards? What are good boards? How F5 WAF detects. Then we will see data save techniques. API security would be last topic. After that, we will do one more project live. Then we will see about distributed cloud WAF. How deployment, we will see both deployment on premises versus on cloud, how it is deployed. Then API security. And then I'll cover interview preparation end to end. So that is it, guys. Now I'll unmute you all. Let's have a Q&A session.